And so I shout out to everyone on last night on my Facebook page, just seeing all who my veteran friends were, and there were quite a few. And so thank you all. I had people ranging from 3 years of service all the way to 30.
Oh, wow.
Years of service. And so with that 30 years, I could not imagine having been in uniform that long. What about you?
I could, but I just knew it was time for me to go.
So that's a thing. So we have a lot of veterans who may be at that point when they're ready to go. So let's talk about that. So you knew that you were ready to go at what year mark? First of all, how many years did you serve?
I did 22 years and 2 months. You know, give me my whole 2 months. You know, 2 months it felt like a long time. What got me to where I knew it was time for me to go, my son came to live with me when he was 15, and I knew that was at my 20-year mark. My son came to live with me. He came because I was deployed, and he had called on Skype and was like, "Dad, you know, I want to come live with you." And I knew in my career I had done enough to where my son asked me, "Can I come live with you?" That would change the whole dynamics of how I operated. Especially, you know, we came back and we started going to NTC, and you know, I knew as a young black male coming to stay with your father, you're coming to stay for a particular reason, and I knew that I had a different type of role to be an influence in his life, and I couldn't be that influential, especially infantry. I couldn't be that influential going to NTC, going to the range, and going to the field, you know, 2 weeks at a time, because he's 15. He's a teenager. He's going to run amok, you know, knowing that, oh, daddy ain't coming home no time soon. I'm going to do what I wanted to do. So I just knew it was time for me to go. And I had to go sit with my sergeant major, and I told him, I said, you know, he was like, well, we have a company for you. I said, well, sergeant major, I think I'd rather go be a father. And at that point, you know, I knew that I had to go because my son needed me more than me going to go take over a company. And that was my turning point, to where I had to love my son more than I loved the unit that I was possibly going to go to.
That's good stuff. So that's a message out there when you come to that crossroads and you have to make a decision between your family's well-being and you making new moves on your own. And so for me, I was at the 17, 18-year mark. I served 20 total, and I was honestly tired of going to work and having people tell me what to do. And not wanting to show up every day was like, yeah, you can't do this much longer, because at any point you snap. So, you know, going through different things, you know, on the home front. And so it wasn't fun anymore. Patient care, I always loved to take care of my patients, but the whole, you know, the other side of the house was not fun anymore. So when it came to that point, I was like, yeah, we're going to go on and drop this paperwork as soon as I'm eligible to. So what would you say to someone who is at that point as far as them transitioning the things that they need to do to prepare themselves?
For me, like I tell some of my associates that are in now, ensure that you have a good civilian foundation. Meaning, if all your friends are in uniform, then 10 times out of 10, they're going to go back to their home record. And you're not going to have that connectivity like you used to. Like for me here in Killeen, I was incorporated, you know, heavily in the community. So now when it was time for me to part, it wasn't that hard of a transition because I was already incorporated into the community and knowing how to communicate who I communicated with. So my voice for you is have a solid foundation, because the decision that you make is not just a decision that's going to be for you, especially if you have a spouse or if you're the single parent and you have kids. the decision that you make is a decision that's going to be collectively affected by what you do and don't do. Especially, it's like the higher you go up in rank, the divorce rate increase, or the higher you go up in rank, the more separation. Like I was telling somebody a couple of months ago, as an E7 or as a senior leader, it gets lonely because you have to be careful about what settings you find yourself in, who you communicate with in those settings,
Right.
your rank, the crowd of people that you're normally associated. Like when you was an E4, everything was cool.
Organization, that's what they call it. They've thrown it out the window now.
As an E4, it was cool. It was fun. The E5, cool. It was fun. You start doing CQ, like, oh man, this is crazy. But then when you get to 7 and when y'all go to 8 and go in as an O3 and stuff like that, I mean, it gets small.
It does.
And people think that, because you're talking with private or specialist or E5 so-and-so, that y'all are messing around. And it's crazy. But in the end, once you make a decision to part, ensure that you sit down with your spouse. Ensure that you sit down with your children to let them know that, one, financially is going to be different.
Yes.
It's going to be totally different. Like for me, I got med boarded, at 22 years. So my transition, was a lot easier to where I didn't have to get out and then go file for, the VA and stuff. But how was your transition out?
Man, my transition, like you said, was a little bit easier because after probably about I want to say 2012 was when I first started my home-based business. So I retired in 17, so 5 years before that, I'd started, mixing with, like you said, the civilian crowd and doing other things and traveling and talking to people, because before I was really an introvert. I think I still am, but I have, I just kind of push that to the side and keep moving. But just setting myself up for that, and then when it came time, it was okay. And so I did the traditional retirement at 20 years. I know that God was actually working on my behalf and in my favor, because I don't think that you get everything you're supposed to have within 45 days of getting out.
No, not at all.
All of mine hit my paycheck 45 days. Guess it's favor. I know it's favor.
Yeah.
So just making sure that I went to my appointments, making sure that everything was documented in my medical records, because when you are either in a senior leader position, or you are, in my case, I was taking care of patients, and you a number.
Yeah.
They need their nurses on the floor. Yeah. It was hard to get off and take care of me.
Yeah.
So, but I had to put my foot down and be like, I'm going to this appointment. Y'all, when I leave here, this work's still going to be done.
Yeah.
And Captain Latour is not going to be here. Somebody going to have to do it, but it won't be me. So right. I'm going to take care of me, because I've been taking care of y'all for all this time. So now it's my turn. So you do have to put your foot down, so to speak. And it's a lot easier to do when you have a little bit of rank on your collar. And
right.
you've been working how you're supposed to all this time, so you have that little bit of leniency. But I would say pulling yourself away from those duties that are going to be there when you leave is absolutely essential, and having to break off and find out who you are. Because when I got out, I kind of knew who I was, but it still was a process. So I know when you wear that uniform for that long time, you see yourself as the soldier. You don't see all of your qualities. I know some people don't anyway. But it was a transitioning point, for me, and I'm still learning about me.
Yeah, because the hardest thing for me, well, I'm not going to say the hardest. The thing that I knew I had to work on was finding who I was. Mm-hmm. Because in uniform, I was pretty strict. I can say that transparently.
I can see that.
I was pretty strict. Oh, you got jokes. I was pretty strict. I was pretty stern. But once you step out of uniform, your power base is gone.
Yeah.
Everything, because I can come to work, come into the office, and be like, "Oh, y'all get out." Mm-hmm. Everyone will get out. Mm-hmm. You can walk into a space, 30 people in there. All you say is "out now," and they'll move. Mm-hmm. Because that was the power that you had. Yeah. You walk into a room now, everybody get out. Man, who is that? Somebody shooting? Something like that. But when you come into the civilian world, and you're coming out of that uniform, and that power base is no longer there. You have to figure out who you are as an individual, because you're no longer Sergeant First Class Russell. You're just another individual, another black man, or who's this guy talking to, because you got to dial back and dial down, you know, how you communicate with people. Like, there's some stuff that I feel, I'm like, well, I was just, you know, being honest. But some people see it as aggressive.
Yeah.
Or you're coming off mean, and I'll say, no, I'm just being honest, because I was so used to being transparent in uniform, and they understood it. But now out in uniform, you're being transparent. They look at it as being mean. So I had to really begin to try to find the who I am, and trying to find out what's the safe way to communicate that doesn't come off as being mean.
Yeah. I found that when I went back home to visit, even now, if I go back home to visit, they don't understand. They don't get it at all. And it's like they feel like you acting like you're high and mighty or whatever. It's like, but you haven't been where I've been. Like, exactly. I've been in a totally different world. So, and I'm not going to change that because I come back home and you doing the same thing. It is what it is. And so having a military like home to come back to, where everyone, you know, other people know the acronyms that you still use sometimes, and people get it. So it's a lot better to stay in the military community when getting out after serving for such a long time. And so that's been my haven. You know, I've kind of grown on this place a little bit.
Yeah, it's safe. You know, some people say, well, why do you stay in Killeen? I'm like, because it's easy. You know, I can communicate with people, like you said, they get it. But then at the same time, you have people that have already been out for that long period of time, and they really transition into a resource. They really transition to being, you know, your mentor to a certain extent, to where they were like, hey, I know a guy, I know a friend. Make sure you go check out Dr. So and so. Hey, you make your appointment. Because they want to see you win, because they knew what it was like when they got out and no one helped them. Because I'm sure back in the past, you know, when you got out, it was really a goose chase trying to find
it's
stuff.
a little better now, but I think there still are some goose chases that you go on. But just having to navigate your way, because again, you don't know. So when I went to my what do you call it, the mandatory week briefing that we went to,
SFL TAP.
And what they saw is captain bars on me, but you don't know how long I've been a captain, and you expect me to know all of this stuff. I'm like, no, I don't. So where is this at? I'm like, I'm about to put my NCO rank back on right now. So people assuming that you should know this, that, and the other, but when you come to them, you know, and ask questions, it's like they're looking at you. Well, I've never transitioned before, so this is new.
Right. I think that comes from, you know, that particular side of the base, and how they communicate, and how everyone that comes in that space is at a different level of understanding. But when you have, like, I was sitting in class, there was those full-bird colonels and stuff like that, and again, we're so used to our soldiers getting out before us. So now when it's our turn to transition out, we want to make our appointments too. You know, when your soldier was saying, oh, I need to make an appointment, oh, stop being a little, you know, whatever. And now you know what it's like to be on that side, and when your commander like, oh, you got all these appointments now. I have these appointments. So it was weird, you know, being and making all these medical appointments, especially as an infantryman. You make all these medical appointments, and you were, as the infantry, looking at other people and you say, oh, you're a malingering. No, now I see. Right. You really have appointments to go to.
Right. So it's the same with me when I was transitioning from this enlisted side to the officer side, and I went to the basic officer leader course. And my eyes were instantly open. Oh, this is why they act like that, because they were not trained in the same fashion that enlisted were. So it gave me it gave me a better understanding of the side that I was going to, and it made me able to communicate better with the enlisted people that I came in contact with, and also officers, and seeing, you know, where they came from. And so it made a much better officer out of me, I believe, to have served on the enlisted side first. And so so I would say to anyone who is still currently in uniform to make sure that you are taking care of you, making sure that your leaders, you know, that they know and understand, you know, where you're coming from. Of course, do your job, do what you need to do, whatever your MOS is, but be ever learning, because when you get out, things are different. They are very different. And so for you, for being on the infantry side of the house, were you able to get a degree while you were in service?
For me, I'm a different type of learner.
Okay.
The way I function now, I took on the certificate route because I know and understand college is not for everyone.
It's not.
And, you know, of course, in the infantry, everyone goes to Excelsior University, you know, to try to get this degree, because at the time, you know, saying, oh, go to college, go do this. But then your op tempo increased. I'm like, hold on, you saying go to college, but then you're talking about we're going to the field this time, and then when we come back from the field, we're going to NTC. When we come back from NTC, we're going to the back 40. When we come back from the back 40, we're going to SRP. I'm like, so when are we supposed to go? Yeah, when are we supposed to go to college? So I went the certificate route, you know, go online and learning certain things like that. So I didn't have. I could have made more of an effort, but I did not make that much of an effort, because I looked at the op tempo, and I looked at what I can get now and learn now to actively be effective in the time that I was living in. So I mean, some people just have more time. I didn't.
Okay. Well, I would say, you know, to those who are in that same situation, that you just make sure that you're learning it and getting what you need for you. And because a lot of people get out and they have no backup plan.
Yeah.
And then they're struggling to make ends meet or whatever. And so it is very essential, very important to have that plan in place. Know what you need before you get out, as far as your school and whatever it is that your dream is. Like you said, everyone doesn't have to have a college education, but know what you want and go get what it is that you need for you. Google is out there. There's everything you need to know pretty much is on the internet. And so however you learn, go ahead and get that education for you. And so it's the same, you know, in medical fields, like when doctors or nurses or whatever, when they go to do their thing on a patient, no one asks you what grades you got in college. No one cares about your GPA. Do you have a license or not? Yeah. Do you have a degree or not for this particular thing? So as long as you have what it is that you need. So for me, I was a medic at first, and I was like, you know what? This is not going to translate to what I want for when I get out. So I need to go ahead and do that. And thank God for the AMED Enlisted Commissioning Program. That's the best kept secret.
That's what you went to?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anybody that doesn't know about that, if you want to go that medical route, you want to look into the AMED Enlisted Commissioning Program. The initials are AECP. And so it paid for my college. I got a stipend while I was in school. My duty was at school.
I thought about that. I didn't go. Because when I learned about the AMED, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go AMED. But I never went. Because I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Okay. But
then that was when they was pushing for nurses. So I was like, shoot, I can't be no physical therapist. I'm not going to be no nurse, so I'm not going to go to the AMED.
What's wrong with male nurses? Nothing?
That wasn't my call, and I was not trying to go. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Like she said, find what your level of furthering your education is. You know, whether it's getting a certificate or going to school online. There's plenty of online courses that you can take, especially, you know, whether you're going to CTC, even when you're abroad, you go to the University of Maryland, and a lot of those other classes that are there at the Education Center. Take a hold of those things. And for you leaders out there, ensure that you are taking care of your soldiers, because oftentimes, you know, when soldiers come in, I hope it's not this way anymore. When soldiers come in, they're not asking them what are your near term, your short range, your long range goals, and, you know, taking and looking at their GT score, and then figuring out what's this roadmap that you can create for this soldier that they can actually set goals for, and then you take them down to the education center. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes what leaders used to do, they'll get all the privates together and they'll go down to the education center and enroll those soldiers who had low GT scores. But I knew, that's how I was brought up. Mm-hmm. And I transitioned in that, even in my latter years, I ensured that my squad leaders looked at the GT score and looked at their line scores and see how they can improve, and then take them to the education center and learn what that soldier wanted to do and try to get them enrolled into college, even if it was for a particular course, because CTC have actually courses that you can take that's for like 3 semester hours. Mm. Just learning those things for your soldiers can actually set them up for success, or just begin to put them on the right path towards their educational goals, if they just want something now or further down the line, looking at what they want to go to school for.
Good stuff. I know one thing that was strange for me is going from the 5-week courses and the 8-week courses to whole darn semesters in class.
I couldn't do it. That wasn't my call.
I couldn't do it online. I had to physically be in class. I did take one class online, and it was a statistics. I still can't say that word. Statistics class online. And I got an A in that class just because I love math. So yeah. I could do that online, but to sit in another course, I did another course online, and I didn't fare so well in that one because my mind just was not there. I was like, you know what? If you're going to school, you better go sit in the classroom. So there's like you said, different learning styles and getting things accomplished. But we just salute all of the veterans, everyone who is still serving. We just thank you for your time and service, for putting your life on the line, for having those late nights, early mornings, no sleep at all, and putting your soldiers in front of your family.
Right.
And sometimes families don't understand that. But there comes a time when that had to be done. And so I know everyone can't do it. But for that 1% of the population who has put that uniform on, we say thank you. So do you have any family members, like generational?
No.
None?
Well, I take that back. My son's in, but he's in the Air Force right now.
That's okay.
My father served. I know. My father served, so we followed his whole career, and then I went, and then after that, my son told me, "Oh, I want to go in the Marine." I was like, "No," but he went his own route, and he went to the Air Force. But out of our military lineage, he's the only one, because I had an uncle that was in the Navy, and another guy that was Army. Then my son then goes and joined the Air Force. He's coming home for the first time, actually this week on the 14th.
Okay.
But I'm proud of him. I'm proud that he took the step to go do something better for himself, because he went the long route, getting kicked out of Shoemaker and Gateway and Texas Challenge Academy, and then put him in school online. Then he start passing. I'm like, dude, you got kicked out of all these schools and you start passing when you go online?
See? Yeah. Everybody's brain is wired differently.
True statement. And then he joins the Air Force, and now he's an F-14 mechanic. I'm like, I don't know how you did it, because there was nothing that you did through your entire time here.
Great job, son. Great job.
I'm saying, so I'm proud of him. He's going to come home, and, I can't eat because I'm, on a fast, so I'll feed him, but I can't eat.
Personal choices.
True statement. True statement.
So we all, like I said, have those different things that we do. And so for me, my father served, and so I found a picture of him. I don't even remember where I found this at. I think my cousin had posted this a couple of years back, but I found this picture. He served during Vietnam times. And so thank you, Dad, for your service, for paving the way for me. And so I want to kind of segment into those who served a long time ago, because I know things back then were so much different than now as far as your benefits and the shame that they felt even coming back home,
right.
From their service. And many of them didn't go seek any of their benefits. And so even for my dad, he never He never got any percentage up until this was a couple of years ago. He come to me and he was sick, and I was like, Dad, have you ever been to the VA?
Yeah.
He was like, no. I go to my regular doctor. No, I'm going to need you to go to VA.
Yeah.
And so, from that one instance and from what he had, he went from 0% to 30, and he got back paid all those years.
See, that's wrong. That's wrong.
And so go get checked out. If you have served any time and you don't have a percentage, I'm going to need you to go to the VA because you deserve it. It's your right to go and get it. But go and get checked out and make sure that you're getting everything that you deserve. Yeah.
Because my father got, like your father, and this was a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. In the same conversation you had with your father, I had with mine, I was like, so what's your percentage? Oh, they said, I can't get anything. Like, what are you talking about? So then he goes to the VA, and then he files, and I'm checking on, hey, what did she say? What did she say? Then he come out with 40%, but they say he can't get back pay.
Well.
But in his records, it showed that he filed, and then they gave him a 0%. Like, you get a 0%, you can go back and get, and reopen the case. But they say he couldn't get back pay. That's crazy.
At least he's about his 40%, and now he's getting what he did not have for those many years.
That man now retired again, so he retired twice.
So he don't really need it, but every little extra piece counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good stuff. So anybody who has served any time and you have not gone to get your benefits, go and get checked up. Make sure that you get everything that you deserve. And if you don't know the process, go seek somebody else out who has that information that you need to go and get what is needed. Because there is a certain way you got to write stuff. So.
Man, that ain't my calling.
It's not mine either.
So if you know how to write, I know a sister, Omega. She does a lot of that stuff for the veterans. So if I remember her last name, I'll put it out there. But or like the DAV, they help out a lot of veterans with your information on how to actually put your what do you call it? Your records. Make sure you have your records. Make sure you make copies of your records. And those that have PTSD, make sure you make your appointments because I know someone that he was getting like 70% for PTSD. He wasn't making his appointments, and he went all the way down to 30. That's a big chunk of change going out of somebody's paycheck because of that. And make your appointments. Set them, make them, and show up. Just be patient. Like me, I'm sitting on 90%. That last 10% they said is the hardest. So I'm still waiting on that. Still doing what I'm supposed to do and just being active as much as I can.
Good stuff. And so we are at our halftime of Prison Break. So I just want to give out these announcements and then we'll get back into it. So anyone that's interested in having a professional come out to your organization for some pertinent education regarding suicide prevention or other counseling services, you can reach out to Shonda Kerb. She has a master's in divinity and she is a certified pastoral counselor. You can reach her at 254-226-1374 or on her website at mindbodyspiritcolleen.com. CPR classes are offered at your convenience from A Heart Pounding Success. Classes offered include BLS for healthcare providers and CPR first aid classes for lay rescuers. You can get scheduled for a class by calling Shirley at 254-300-6027 for all your CPR class needs. Would you like to fill your mind with positive, godly lessons learned to help you along your journey? The Grace to Recover book series and God of a Second Chance book are available on Amazon now. They are available in print and ebook versions, or if you would like to have an autographed copy, you can go to ShirleyLatourEnterprises.com to reserve your copies. So, Prison Break. Prison Break on KRGN is looking for sponsors to help it stay on the air. KRGN is a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we remain on the air by listener support. So if you have a business or you have a nonprofit that you want the world to know about, contact me at 254-300-6027 and let's get you started. And so those sponsorships also, they include you being announced during every Prison Break show. It includes you having airtime time as far as ads throughout the week for the whole entire month for as long as you are a sponsor of the Prison Break show. So I know there are some listeners who are very faithful to the show, and so reach out to us. So that brings us to the end of that, and so we're just going to get right back into what we're talking about on tonight, and it is our Veterans Edition. So thank you all for your service, those who have served any time in service. I see some of my veteran friends on right now. We've got Miss Shan is on Facebook Live. Thank you for tuning in. She also has a show. It's right after ours. It's Marriage Monday with the Kings. If y'all have not been on her radio broadcast, you want to make sure that you tune in to her at 7 o'clock p.m. on Monday nights right after Prison Break. They have a phenomenal show, her and her husband, talking not just to married but to single people as well, and encourage you along the way. And we also have Miss Vivical Great. She is actually just about to retire. She retires, I want to say, this month. I know I got the invite. I can't remember the exact date, but thank you so much for your service. She's a CW4. And retiring, I believe, with 24 years of service. So thank you so much for your service. And all those who are on Facebook Live, thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you for your service, those who have served. And so we're getting back into just talking about veterans and how they can be prepared when they get out. And what would you suggest for someone who is lower enlisted? They don't plan to stay a whole 20, 25 years. What would you suggest that they do in preparation for their transition? Say just do 4 and they go on.
If you do 4, and whether your first enlisted is 3 years, 4 years, or you re-enlisted one time and you got 8 years and you're getting out, know your why. Know why you're getting out, and understand once you do transition out, there's no, whether you're going to school, because I had soldiers, I'm going to go to school when I get out, but they don't go to school. There's no follow-up nor follow-through. I still have soldiers now, I'll text them or I'll call them and check on them. But have that plan and know and understand what that plan is, and have a place that you know you go to and get support. Because if you're in uniform and you're having issues with living, it's not going to change because you got out. No. It's going to get a lot harder for you because there's no backfill when you blow $500 or $200 on some sneakers, or you buy some rims and you got $1,500 gone. There's no, I get paid, in next week, and I get that. Exactly. So especially for the single parents or the sole financial husband or wife, make sure you have yourself set up. And my thing is, which I wish I would have done it, but try to pay off as much as you can before you get out. Yeah. So if you got a car, try to pay as much as that off, because the bills don't stop coming.
No, they don't.
The lights still have to stay on. Cut down on some of the bills that you do have that you don't have to always have. There's nothing wrong with canceling your cable and going strictly internet, because that's one less bill for you to have. And just try to get real thin on what your output is, because your intake, when the money is coming in, you want to output as less as possible, because once you get out, that's it. There's no, because you're not retiring.
Right.
Unless you get med boarded, you're going to get, some of y'all jokers get 100%, and you ain't do anything except, you went to work, somebody yelled at you in basic training, now you get 100%. Hey. But I'll leave that alone.
Don't get me fired from work.
Right. But still in the same token, just find you a good support group, whether it's with a church, whether it's a mentor, whether it's someone who's been out a lot longer than you, and allow them to be that support for you, because they have already been where you're about to go to. And just be open and open to learn and open to listen, because they're not saying something to hurt your feelings. They just want to make sure that your transition is as successful as theirs were, because they probably didn't get the information that they're giving you.
What would you say to a person who is getting out? And so I know for your MOS, I know that y'all didn't go to sick call very often. And I know that there might have been this.
We went to sick call during SRP.
That's not good. And so for those who, were told or they felt like it was a bad thing to go on sick call, even if you really were sick or you really were hurting, you didn't go and get checked up, or you didn't get your mental capacities. Yeah. If that was not taken care of, if you didn't take care of yourself during that time, during transition, it can be an awfully hard transition. So what would you say to someone who is going through that now?
Just be honest with yourself, because especially as an infantry soldier, especially as a senior leader, PTSD is something, again, that is the stigma. Oftentimes, especially in infantry, is really taboo to really talk about. I'm not feeling so well, and what's not so well look like, and the stigma of a senior leader going and sitting down and speaking with someone. Sometimes they get looked down upon, they get talked about, but you have to know why you're going, not listening to someone else's voice, but listening to your inner voice to go and seek that help and that attention, because when you get out, that's it. It's just you. You and, like for me, sometimes I will only, like somebody who really knows me, like maybe 11 or midnight, or sometime 1 in the morning, that's where oftentimes I feel comfortable with going into Walmart, because of either the amount of people or just stuff, and you have to mentally understand, if that is the best time for you to go, stick with that. There's nothing wrong with you not wanting to go to Walmart 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon because you feel safer to go late at night because there are less people in there. Know what that is and understand it, and try to go and talk with someone, because once you get out, you don't go on post and go to mental health, because you now have the VA and you got other people that you're standing behind the line for, because they've been there way before you. So just start having those conversations now. Senior leaders, if you're out there, you have your trainer or your NCO classes or whatever. Incorporate mental health in that, because the early talk about it now, the potential of them seeking and having someone to help them out, because you never know, you might be the one that gets that type of help when you're hosting those things, because you don't want to have mental health classes only when you want to do a safety stand down.
Right, when something's
That's crazy.
happened.
Yeah, it's too late then. You can't fix it. It's wild.
Good stuff. Yeah, so it's okay to go to the doctor. It's okay to go see a therapist. It's okay to go and see and get the help that you need. We all need help in different areas. And so for me, I was always used to being around a lot of people, working in the hospital, going to different events and all this kind of stuff. But now it's like, oh, you're at home alone all week. I need to get out and go do something, because this is not my norm. And so, but we all still need that, like you said, that routine. And so getting out of the house and doing what it is I need to do for me, or sometimes it's sitting at home by myself because I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And now I have that, you have that space, to do that. And so, yeah, life is different once you take that uniform off for the last time. You no longer have to strap up those boots. Thank God I no longer have to strap up those boots. Yeah. I want to say something on that, too, because those boots will mess your feet up. They really do. Plantar fasciitis. Oh my goodness. So yes, take care of your bodies. Take care of everything. Listen to your body, because a lot of times I wasn't listening to my body. I just kept on moving, but now it's talking to me.
Man, your back talks to you. Your headaches, your knees cracking. Yeah, but I think kind of like we were speaking about this past day. Starting a business is less strenuous when you're in uniform. It's a lot more helpful because you have the uniform. And if you're a leader and you have a soldier that is an entrepreneur, support that soldier during their entrepreneurship. Because you never know, you might need a job. No, it's bad. Because you got people that is going to begin to create other streams of income in uniform. Because even when I was in, I didn't have leaders talking about additional streams of income at all. And you know, when you get paid, the only thing that you got as far as talking about finances was you got to pay the activities.
I mean, y'all got that. Bless your hearts.
That's about it. You know, but as far as like when you were starting your entrepreneurship in uniform, how was that for you?
Oh, it was great to be able to kind of transition, and people, when you go out and you're in regular clothes, they're like, oh, because it's different. You look different in uniform than you do in civilian clothes, and so just having that opportunity to let my hair down, so to speak, and just be who I am and learning new roles and seeing how is this going to line up once I actually take this uniform off, you know, for real. It was an eye-opening experience. It taught me a lot to be able to do that. I did get a lot of support in the hospital. I used to bring their books up to I used to sell stuff all the time in the hospital, selling coffee and tea. I had my regular customers. My co-workers were regular customers. So thank y'all.
I had to pull up to the front of the hospital to get mine.
Yes. Thank you for your support.
Yes.
Sometimes you had to wait because I was like, dang it, he gonna pull up when a patient comes fresh out the OR, and I can't tell them, I can't refuse the patient, so he's gonna have to wait. But
right.
So yeah, thank you for your support, and even back then, coming waiting in the front, like I'm coming, wait on me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So let's see, what else we got? We got a few more minutes before.
I think one thing that most people don't know. Some people do. Some took advantage of it, and some did not. The House Senate bill, I think, is 1038, 1048. My phone died, so I can't read it. But if you are a veteran and you want to start a business, it's almost expired. The expiration date is 1 January 2020. It started 1 January in 2016. You had this long amount of time for you to start a business when your filing fee for the Secretary of the State is free, non-exempt. I mean, exempt. You don't have to pay anything to start your business.
Right.
But you will pay when you go down and you try to get your something. In Killeen, it's $7, which is totally inexpensive. I've seen, like in Hawaii, when I filed for a business, it was $25. But when I went to Killeen, I thought she said wrong number, $7. I'm like, okay, cool. But to start a business here in the state of Texas is one of the most veteran-friendly states outside of Florida. But if you want to start a business, you have from now up until January 1st, 2020 to get your tax, for you not to have to pay the Secretary of State. You're going to need your D-214. Again, my phone died. I wish it did not die. But go ahead and do a Google search. Type in your veteran starting a business in the state of Texas, and you get a free. You don't have to pay anything for the first 5 years. You're exempt from the franchise tax.
Yes.
So for your first 5 years in business, you do not have to pay the franchise tax. If you are a veteran, you already have your D-214. You fill out the information. There are 2 certifications that you can get. If you are a veteran business owner, currently you have your veteran-owned business, which is your veteran business owned, which is VBO, and another certification is disabled veteran business owned, DSVB O. So those are 2 certifications that you can go and try to bid for government contracts because they do get credit because you are a veteran. They're able to get credit for you coming in. So now if you have a business and I'm certified as a VBO, but you have, like, say Shirley, she's not certified as a VBO,
and I'm not. But
now if you, like, for you being, like, for what you do, that CPR, there's money out there for you.
I know.
For that. But if I'm VBO certified, she's not VBO certified, but we put there's a request for proposal put out there. They're most likely going to give it to me only because I have the state certification of being a veteran-owned business or a veteran business owner. I would get that that RFP over her because they want that credit. So make sure you look at those two certifications for your VBO or your disabled veteran certification. But again, you have now until January 1st to register as a veteran-owned business. For you do not have to pay for the first 5 years your franchise tax of you starting that business. Again, 1 January is the expiration date for you to be also exempt from paying the Secretary of State and exempt for the first 5 years of you having your business not paying the franchise tax. So again, look that up because it's there to benefit you. There are lots of veteran-owned grants, veteran business grants out there for you. There are some for seed capital that you can get help with. But if you want some of those grants, you can email me at txblackpages@gmail.com, tx@blackpages@gmail.com. And make sure you mention Prison Break so I know exactly who you heard it from, and then I'll shoot you information on those grants. It's like ROI for her to make sure that you are listening. So then I'll be able to let her know who is listening to her show, and I'll probably send you some advertising because obviously it worked. And if somebody else hears this, and then your business can be here at the Prison Break, so where now you're getting in front of the other type of audience, with audience of people that want to get information, and you'll be able to know more about your product as well. So if you want grants, I can send you grant information about veterans. Email me again at txblackpages@gmail.com, and I'll send you the information about the grants. Or if you want the link to where I can see where you can go ahead and get your business registered in the state of Texas without having to pay for it, I'll send you that link as well.
I actually have it in here. I'm trying to find it myself because I'm going to attach it to this video for those who are on Facebook Live when I find it. But yes, and it's $300 for an LLC if you don't have that certificate. You don't have that certification, so it is a savings to all those involved. There's so many.
Huh? It's $300.
It's $300.
Free.
Yes, and so when I was here it is, I have a. There's a lot of different things when a person is transitioning out. So they have the entrepreneur track, so make sure it's a 2-day course there. When you go, you can sign up for the entrepreneur track. There's also a higher education track that a person can take, and I believe there's 2 others. I don't remember those 2, but I took both of the entrepreneurial track and the higher education track just to see what was out there, because when you coming through service, they don't tell you all that stuff. Like, I didn't have any clue that I was eligible for all of those things. So make sure you pay attention when you go to your briefings. So here's the information right here.
And the University of Syracuse, they also have other courses that you can take. Like, you can take an actual PMP course, which is the project management. You can take a PMP course through the University of Syracuse without having to pay for it. Again, there's lots of veteran benefits, so it's not just about getting free food today. Excuse me. So even after today is complete, there are plenty of veteran platforms that will be able to help you out. So again, make sure you send your emails and put the subject of Prison Break as the subject, and I'll send you the information for it, and then I'll send you Shirley's information so you can advertise on this radio show.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. So yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that that we are eligible for. Again, thank you so much for all of those who served in uniform. Thank you for your service, for all of your years of sacrifice to this great country. I will put the link up for that also on those who are on Facebook Live. I'll put the link up for forming a veteran LLC in Texas for free. I'm so glad I'm in Texas. Actually, I don't think I would ever go back to Indiana and stay ever. Yeah. So some states I know are better than others for taking care of their veterans. Why would you say that there's a difference?
I'm not sure, because it should be the same across the board. I don't know if the state of California get less money than the state of Texas, so they able to put more into it. I'm not sure, but it is kind of disheartening. You have other states that are not as veteran friendly as you know, Florida and Texas is, because those are it's like Florida, it's like Texas, Florida, then I think California. But yeah, I think it should be even across the board.
Good stuff. All right, well, thank you so much, Ronnie, for coming and joining me on tonight on Prison Break. We are going to, this was a light week. We usually hit it heavy and hard on some of the topics, but we just, taking a break on this week and honoring our veterans for all that they do, all that they have done for our nation. And so next week we're going to be coming back with, I haven't really given it a title yet, Mr. Grace, but I know what we're going to be talking about.
Ooh.
Submission. So it's going to be good. So prayerfully, Shonda's going to be back in the house on next week.
Okay.
You want to join me?
Hey,
You're welcome.
Talk about that all day.
All right, and so you've been listening to Prison Break. I'm your host, Shirley, with my special guest, Ronnie Russell, and we are here on Prison Break, and we are excited that you tuned in on tonight. Make sure that you keep your dial locked in to KRGN 98.5 FM, The Rock. The next song you will hear will be Speak the Name by Corinne Hawthorne, and then after that, you will be listening to Marriage Monday with the King. So keep that radio locked on 98.5 FM.